Joining me now is legal expert Damian Jackson. He's a criminal defense attorney and partner with Reilly McDevitt Henrich, law firm here in Philadelphia. Damian, as always, thank you for joining us. Explain this ruling for us, if you will. Does this mean the court believes Cosby should not have been prosecuted in the first place?
Well, that's what it seems like. The court basically came down and said that the second prosecution should have honored Bruce Castor's agreement. They, went very far in explaining that although these things happened, they might not have liked what the evidence was. They said that it should have been honored. You just can't have a second DA come in and upset prior agreements. It's not right, and that's something that we talked about when I was on originally. Bruce Castor, he made this agreement for whatever reason. He had investigated the case. He didn't think he had enough to prosecute. He wanted to get the victim some type of relief, so he cut that deal so that Cosby could at least give a deposition at his earlier, at the earlier case. And based off of that, that's why Mr. Cosby basically incriminated himself and told everything that he did.
Now, he was convicted. He was convicted, guilty, but does this ruling mean he's free and clear?
It means he's free and clear. It doesn't mean that he didn't do it, but he can no longer be prosecuted for any crimes connected to her or many of the victims. As the Supreme Court announced in their ruling, he cannot be retried on that case. Now, if there's some other victims out there from him that are not similarly situated, that were not potentially connected with this case, people who didn't testify, any other evidence that really are far afield from this case, they might be able to bring that. But as far as they're concerned, this case is over and done with, and based off of that, that case cannot be retried.
Damon, I saw a quote earlier today. Attorney Gloria Allred, who represented many of Cosby's accusers, said today's decision is, quote, devastating for the accusers. Do his accusers have any recourse?
It really depends on what the timing is. They might have some recourse depending on their statute of limitations, but I don't think that they do. If I remember correctly, when we were first going over this, the whole reason why they were bringing this particular plaintiff or victim to court was because her case was the last in the series of them that would just fall under the statute of limitations. So that's why they brought forth her particular case. Now, if there are other victims out there that we don't know about, they possibly could get their day in court. But from what I remember and everything that was said before, she was the last victim that they knew about. The statute of limitations on her case was about to expire, and that's why they decided to go ahead and charge him at that point in time.
Damien, we have about 10 seconds left. What about Cosby? Does he have any recourse against the court system?
That's something that he might try to go against, but bottom line, everybody followed the rules. Okay, if anybody who really is to blame here is Bruce Castor and the subsequent prosecution. They could not come to an agreement that Bruce Castor's agreement with Bill Cosby from the beginning should be enforced. He wasn't maliciously prosecuted or anything else. Those ideas had been litigated through all the lower courts, and all the lower courts agreed that, hey, that for whatever reason, that agreement was not enforceable. Go ahead and file, go ahead and prosecute him, and we're here now. Now, you can remember, he had a hung jury the first time. Then the big swell of the Me Too movement and a lot of the other victims were allowed to testify, and that's how he was convicted. Remember, he wasn't exonerated. He's not innocent, but he is free of these charges based on the rules that the Pennsylvania Supreme Court put.
We always appreciate your insight and expertise. Damian Jackson, thank you for joining us. We'll get back to you. Appreciate you. Stay with CBS 3, for sure, for continuing coverage of this blockbuster ruling overturning Bill Cosby's sexual assault conviction. When we are not on air, go online at cbsphilly.com and our streaming service as well, CBSN Philly.